So here's a little plot twist. As it turns out, I am the biggest problem in my own business. Yep. When I was recently at a team retreat, I asked them what was not working. And guess what? Every single roadblock that we were facing as a team led straight back to me. And honestly, I did not like to hear it, but they were not wrong. And the truth is, if everything depends on me, the business can't grow. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to get really vulnerable with you. I'm going to tell you what they told me and how we are creating a solution to get out. So are you ready to do the same thing in your own business? All right, let's go. Welcome to the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Rhonda, your no fluff, tell it like it is business bestie for wellness practitioners just like you who want to build a practice you love and make a bigger impact and a little money while you're at it. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm, attract your dream, ideal patients, and finally run your practice with complete confidence, you're in the right place. Each week, we're tackling things from programs to patient retention to marketing strategies that actually work, sprinkled, of course, with a little sass, a lot of heart, and the step-by-step strategies that will help you get there. So grab your cup of coffee, your notebook, or whatever keeps you going, and let's build a practice you love and a life you love together. Yes, today I'm going to be talking about my own personal problem in that I don't even want to say it. I'm not going to say it. I can't say the C word. You know what the C word is. When you're a business owner, we just have to be in the C word. I don't like that word because I don't think of myself as being that way, but I think I probably am that way. So here's what happened. We recently, once a year or so, I take my virtual team on a team retreat. And there are 4 of us all together. And there's 5. The 5th one couldn't come. So there were myself and then 3 others. And so we all get away. We went to San Diego. We rented a beautiful beach house that had a unbelievable view of the water. We literally were right on the ocean. So we had a almost 180-degree view of the water. It was beautiful. And, the goal is just to spend time together, to laugh together. We went and did an escape room together. We ate out a couple of nights. It was fun. We had a great, great time. But part of while we're there together is we're working together. And there's a lot of connectivity, relationships that get built because remember, this is a virtual team for me. So I only see them on Zoom. I don't ever get to interact with them personally. So it's always so fun to be together in person. So we started the first day out and I said, okay, we have like a couple of projects we're going to be working on this year. And I said, all right, let's talk about what's not working. Like, let's look at this particular thing and we know what is working. We're clear on that. But I said, what's not working? And so, the 3 of them and me, I'm at the whiteboard and I'm writing down, and they come up with one thing. I'm like, yep, you're right. That's not working. And then we write that down. Yep, that's the next thing. Yep, that's definitely not working. And then the next thing. Yep, so you got that. Yep, perfectly not working. And as we went through the list, there were probably 6 or 7 items on this particular list. I've still got the list in my suitcase that I have not unpacked yet because I don't want to look at the list. And here's why. Because as we looked at the list, it became very clear that I was the bottleneck. And the girls were so kind. And I said, I think I'm the problem here. And they're all like, well, yeah, kind of you are. And it's not that they called me out. Like it wasn't a big secret. I knew that I was the bottleneck. But the problem is that I've created a business that's built around me, not around my team. And when I create these things that happen around me, it's because I care. I care about the content and the love and the things, the details that go into Clinical Business Academy, for example. I care deeply about that. Like it's the reason that I do what I do because I'm so passionate about helping practitioners have very successful, super successful practices that they can grow, scale, have a retirement and love, and then sell at a multiple. Like I'm so passionate about that. So when I create, let's say, a content development plan, I want to sign off on everything because I'm super passionate about it. For Clinical Academy, very passionate about that clinical content. And for the practitioners that are in there are hundreds of people in there. And I'm very passionate about that. So I created the system that is me being passionate about that, which means that I have to have eyes on it, which means that I have to approve it or create the content or whatever. And that doesn't allow the business to really grow because everything falls back on me. And when I'm busy, I just can't get to it all. So then what happens is productivity slows, right? So inside my business, my virtual business, everything comes to a screeching halt. And the girls are just waiting on me. They're just waiting on me. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that tonight when I get home. Or I'll get to that this weekend. And then I end up working weekends and I end up working nights. And now my quality of life is not good. And their work life is not good. And fortunately, they love me. So we have a great relationship. But it's not good for anybody. And so we struggle sometimes to let go. I think, okay, well, I just need to delegate that. But is it really delegation or is it just me wanting to be in control? There, I said it. And I think it's probably a little bit of both. And I told them when we were at the retreat, I said, there's one thing, like for instance, like emails that go out. I want to see them. Because I want to make sure that they reflect me, that they have my voice. Does that make sense? That they feel like me. So when you read them, you get my emails. When you read them, you go, yeah, that's Rhonda. I want to write them in a way that conveys who I am. But if the girls are writing them, they can't get in my brain. So then I go in and I make little tweaks and I fuss with the words a little bit and I make it. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Well, that just took me 15, 20 minutes to do. To edit what they did. But does it really matter at the end of the day? And that's what kills me because I think, well, yes, it matters. Of course it matters. Yes, I need to sign off on all the things all the time because yes, this is just so important. But really at the end of the day, I don't know that it really is important. And the problem is that if I continue to be the bottleneck, the business cannot grow because they cannot move the business forward because they're waiting on me. So I've been thinking about this since I got back from the retreat, and I'm considering I really do want to be better. I do want to un-bottleneck my business without removing myself, of course. That would be the best way to un-bottleneck but if I'm gone, there's no business. So there has to be a balance in here. And I think for you, even whether you're a solo practitioner or you have a team, doesn't matter. You are probably to some degree the bottleneck in your business. But there are going to be things that you really can delegate and you don't have to have control over. I mean, good grief, with AI, you can train your AI to talk like you, to write emails like you. You can train it to do all of those things. And then you can come in and tweak the last little bit or not. But I think that whether you want to write them or you want to use AI, we do a little combination of both. But I think that it's important that you start to look at where you might be the bottleneck because it was a pretty aha moment-ish for me was when I realized how many places in the business that I actually am the bottleneck. Like even the podcast here, they're sometimes waiting on me and I like to record them ahead of time. But when I get behind, then I become the bottleneck and I don't have enough of the podcast recorded so that the team then can go produce them because there's a lot of work. We have to edit it and create graphics for it and create the emails and the meta description and tags and all the things. But if I don't get it to them in time, then they're stuck. So you see, this is a big problem. All right. So now what I did was I thought about, all right, I like to give you action steps. I like to think, okay, how can I help you be successful as you're thinking about this, being the bottleneck in your business? So I came up with 6 ideas. So let's talk about these 6 ideas about how you and I'm speaking to me too, can stop being the bottleneck. So the first and most important thing, which is what we did at the retreat, was we were able to identify where the logjam is. In other words, who is waiting on me and what are they waiting for? So who's waiting? And it was all of them. And then what are the things that they're waiting for me on? So I've been thinking about what are the daily things that I can do? What are the weekly tasks that I can do that absolutely require my eyeballs? No one else can do it. And you've heard me talk about this before. no one else can do the clinical work that you do. Now, you might hire like a health coach or another associate in your office. Fine. They're not going to do it exactly like you. However, there are some things that really don't need to be you either, that you can delegate. And even if you're a solo practitioner, you're still going to find that you are getting stuck in charting, follow-ups, reviewing new patient information, et cetera, et cetera. There will be places where you're still going to be the bottleneck. In other words, you are slowing it down. So I guess the question is then, how can we automate some things? How can we delegate to a virtual assistant, which I just talked about a few weeks ago? How can we start to delegate and get the things off of our plate that we don't absolutely have to do? So that's number 2. Number 1 is identify where you're the bottleneck. The second thing is, how do we offload those things? So the way I want you to think about it is, what is your zone of genius? What is the thing that you do and you do well? I'm great with people. I'm a good communicator. I genuinely love people. I get irritated by people sometimes, but that doesn't mean that I don't love them. But that's my zone of genius. My zone of genius is creating content, is thinking about wellness practices like a business owner, like a CEO. I'm really good at that. It's just a thing for me. I can do that. I'm really good at the clinical stuff, like making complex things simple. It's just my superpower. So I can't delegate any of those things, but I can delegate emails, for example. And I told the girls, I said, okay, give me a hot minute. But I think I can let that one go. And how dumb. Like, why do I need to sign off on an email? Why? Do you guys look at the emails that I send and think, oh, that was a bad one? No one says that. And if you do, you're not in the right place if you think that. But because I'm not your person. But nobody thinks that. You read the email, you get the information you want, and then you move on. So why am I being the bottleneck as it has to do with this? I want you to identify the things that you are naturally good at. What is your zone of genius? And really, all the other stuff you need to offload. Like, no one else can record the podcast for me. Obviously, you're here listening because you care about me. You love what I'm talking about. It is inspirational to you. But all the back end stuff, what if I was doing all that? I can delegate that. So just think about the things that are in your zone of genius, and everything else really you should offload. The question is the reminder is, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. So that one you can take to the bank. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. So I want you thinking more like a business owner and how to un-bottleneck your business with you in it. So now, the third thing is, I thought, let's figure out how to set up systems of a sort for repetitive tasks. So for instance, instead of manually following up with a reminder to a patient, hey, I wanted to remind you about your appointment tomorrow. How about you just set up an automation where they just get a reminder email? Maybe your software allows you to do that. Great. Or you have like an email series that goes out to them with information that they need about their new appointment or their follow-up appointment. And then you could also most people do have online scheduling. I'm surprised how many practitioners I meet that don't. So if you do have online scheduling, great. Like, make that available and tell people, don't call me or email me to schedule. Don't do that. Let's just here's the link, find your time, and we go from there. And then even creating email templates, where you're not responding to the same question. What are the questions that you get asked all the time in your practice? Like, I always laugh. And one of the questions that I got asked all the time was, are sweet potatoes okay to eat? Like, why are you asking me this? So write an email. Hey, just want to let you know, sweet potatoes are great, and here's why. They help stabilize blood sugar. They're a good source of fiber. They got some vitamin A, vitamin E, blah, blah, blah. So you write an email about that. That's a way that you can kind of automate. And then number 4 is, once you've automated a few things, then start to really delegate. And this is where just finding someone to come in and help you for a few hours a week, get that stuff that's not essentially required for you to do, get that off your plate and give it to someone else who can help you. Even if you just have someone just for a short few hours a week. If you're a solo practitioner, for those of you that have office staff, for me, I've got several people working for me. But those are people that just delegate, say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And the other thing is, I'll say this, like in full transparency, sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help. I tend to think, well, by the time I ask them to help me, and then by the time I do it, it's just going to be that much more time. I could have just done it myself. How many of you think that? I do. I think, oh, I'll just do it myself. But how is anyone else going to learn how to do it if I don't ask for help? Like I have this gnarly report that I have to make in Washington State for the med spa. And it's once every 2 years, and it takes about 2 hours to create this report. And I just dread it when it comes from the state. It's so dumb. It's such a dumb thing. But it takes about 2 hours. They don't care about your business. They just care about the stupid report. And I've done it every year because I think, well, I'm the only one that I know where the numbers are. I know how to get it, etc. And this year I thought, no, I am going to ask for help. And when my helper says, where do I find this information? We're going to work through it together and create a system so that in 2 years, I don't have to do it again. So it might be a little bit more painful the first time, but it is so worth it because you're going to extract yourself out of those activities slowly and over time, even if it's uncomfortable and even if it makes it a little bit more work for you. You have to give clear expectations about what you can do. You have to have them, I guess, about what you really can do. What is your capacity? Life, work, family, all the things. What's your capacity? How much can you actually get done? And if you can't get it done and someone else is being held up because you're not getting it done, then you need to delegate that. That's really important. And then number 5 is set boundaries for yourself. Give your staff, your helper, your VA, your front desk person, give them permission to make decisions without you on the low stakes decisions. So for instance, my Elaine, who's on the team, she has full permission if we have someone in our community that maybe they just lost a family member, or they lost a favorite pet, or they were ill, or were celebrating something. Elaine has full authority to order something for them on Etsy, to send them a little gift, to spend money. And she has a budget and she sticks within that budget. And if she needs to go over the budget, she'll reach out to me and say, hey, this is what I think I'd like to do. Are you okay with that? And most of the time I say yes. And so she knows that. She doesn't need to involve me. So do you see how I un-bottlenecked myself? But I trust her and I know that she's not going to be reckless with that. And if she was, I would see it on my credit card statement. So I trust her. So I don't need to be involved. But someone who was really wanting to micromanage everything would say, well, you need to run that by me first. That is what I call a low stakes decision. So you can set boundaries for yourself. In other words, these are the things that I absolutely still need to be involved in while I'm kind of figuring this out. And then these are the things that are lower stakes that, I don't know that I really need to know about that. So another question, another way you can kind of frame it is this decision, will it be impactful 6 months from now? I would argue that the content that I create, absolutely is impactful 6 months from now. So that does need to be me. However, if it's not going to be impactful 6 months from now, like an email, maybe I can just say, I'm good. You guys just go with your bad self because you don't need to involve me. But I also don't want you overthinking it. So if it's, I don't know, use the minute for minute rule. If this decision isn't going to matter in 6 months, then don't spend more than 6 minutes thinking about it. Don't go home and just ponder and ponder and ponder. Then you're even becoming more of a bottleneck. And then lastly, I think it's just probably goes without saying, but I think we have to just let go and we just have to trust. And it's not going to be exactly how you want it, but the point is that it gets done. And that's the problem. Is a core value for me is excellence, and excellence in everything that we do to the best of my ability or our ability as a team. And so, listen, I'm just being really honest. I'm afraid something's not going to be excellent. But why do I have that? Why do I even think that? When my team, the ladies that work with me, they have shown me over and over and over and over that they too are committed to everything being excellent. It's a core value for us. So why do I worry about that? Everybody makes a mistake once in a while, but if they understand that core value and it's a core value for them in the workplace, which it is, then why do I worry about letting things go? I shouldn't. And if I could take myself out of the bottleneck of the whole thing, it would be a lot easier. Like just talking about this with you, like my chest is tight. I clearly have a problem. But I know that was probably the biggest benefit that came out of this staff retreat was I was really able to see where I'm keeping the pace slow. And I don't want that. I want to grow. I want to impact more doctors. I want to hear about the success stories when someone in Clinical Business Academy says, oh my gosh, I was making $200,000 a year, top line revenue. And after 1 year in CBA, I'm now at $450,000. Yes, that makes me so happy. But if I am in the middle of all of that and I'm slowing their ability, the team's ability to help create the content, get the content out there, support the Clinical Business Academy people or Clinical Academy, then if I'm the one that's bottlenecking, then I'm not going to be able to have that kind of impact on other practitioners. Does that make sense? So excellence, I would say excellence doesn't mean micromanaging. It really means creating systems with people that you trust that are committed to doing amazing work, and it doesn't require me touching everything. Like that's really where it comes down to. It's much easier said than done. So my commitment to you, friends, is that I am actively going to start to try and pull myself out of some of the things that we're doing in the business. And my team, they listen to these podcasts, so y'all girls are hearing me. But I really am going to work hard at trying to let go. And I don't think there's some control for me, but it's also because I care so much. And if I let go, I feel like in my mind that it means I don't care. Sorry about the phone ringing. But I do care. And it's because I care that it makes the biggest difference. And that's why I do what I do. The phone rings in the most inopportune times. So I want to make sure that you all feel confident. Like just make that list of the zone of genius things for you that really that those are the things you can't give up. And then everything else really has the potential to either be automated or delegated, or maybe you just don't do it at all. So there you go. Pick the lowest hanging fruit. What's the easiest thing for you to delegate? Probably for me, although I don't know that's going to be easy, but it is going to be the emails for me. Delegating those emails is going to be the thing that is going to get me out of the bottleneck and make the team be able to go faster. Does that make sense? So there you go. The more you remove yourself from being the bottleneck, even if you're solo, like you can find someone to delegate tasks to, you will actually grow faster. When you pull yourself as the bottleneck, you're going to gain more speed in the business. And it's opposite of what we think. So there you go. Those are my musings. Thanks for listening to my vulnerability. I tell you, sometimes being a business owner, it's the most rewarding thing ever, but it's also kind of hard sometimes. And this team retreat was good for me, really good for me, although very eye-opening, yet not surprising, but kind of scary because it means that I really do have to step out of some things and just let go. So anyway, there you go. That's what I got for you, friends. Take care. Have a great week. I'll see you next week on the podcast. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode. But before you go, I've got something special for you. If you are ready to master female hormones during the reproductive years, join me on Saturday, April the 19th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time for a live virtual seminar. You'll get 2 weeks of replay access and a step-by-step framework of what you really need to know about addressing these kinds of hormone imbalances. Early bird pricing starting right now. It's $50 off when you use the code EARLY50 at checkout, but you have to do that before March 31st at midnight. So all you have to do is go to rondanelson.com/female hormones 2025. That will take you to the registration page. use that early 50 code. That'll take you $50 off. And if you'd like to take it one step further, you can add on a private 2-hour session with yours truly for only $97. I'll walk you through real-life case studies, break down the hormone tests even deeper, and show you how I create protocols for patients using these tests and their intake forms and the information that they provide me. So that's it. I'm so excited about this. You're not going to want to miss it. Go to rhondanelson.com/female hormones 2025 during the month of March before March 31st. Use that code early50 and you get $50 off registration. And then if you want to join me for the Afterglow after event, 2 hours, you can do that too. All right, friends, can't wait to see you there.